Buongiorno everyone, welcome back to the Magpie Channel TV. Transfer window over. What a long, exhausting month that was, with nothing really happening for Newcastle United or for anyone, to be honest. I was actually going to do a bit of a PSR transfer window video today and talk about it and what's happening and why it needs scrapped and how the Premier League's suffering from it. But then this breaking news comes out. More news on the new stadium. So if you want to see that PSR video, let us know in the comments and I'll try and squeeze it in at some point. Don't know when, because obviously we have the small matter of a second leg semi-final to deal with tomorrow night at the current St James's Park. So we'll be at that one, so stay tuned, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already for the vlog, for fan interviews, bringing them back tomorrow night, fan cams, and the match reaction and everything else, where we will hopefully be celebrating getting to Wembley once more. But this is a bit more on what I brought out last week. There was an article last week from the Mail saying that Newcastle had two options: a 70,000 new Seattle Stadium in Leazes Park, or an expansion of the current ground to about 63,000, was it? 60? 60,000 I think it was. I think it was 60,000. And then the new ground was 70,300, I think. Right then, well, the Telegraph are now leaking this information that it will indeed be a new stadium in Leazes Park. That's the direction Newcastle United are going. Thankfully, we won't have to deal with much speculation for much longer, because an announcement is expected anytime from March on the club's official plans. But I've stuck my head out on the line for this one for a while now. Said for a while, got loads of grief for it, even very at the start, that we'll get a new stadium. Said it would be Leazes Park. You had other people saying this, making videos, doing this. It won't be Leazes, can't be Leazes. Oh, it can. And it most likely will, according to these reports as well. So let's dive into this exclusive then from the Telegraph. And again, isn't this good timing? Transfer window was shut yesterday. Eddie Howe does his press conference today. Questions all about signings and everything. Someone at the door again. Well, that was typical. As soon as you start recording a video, not on the door, delivery driver. Cheers, mate. Not like I had all day to answer that. But there we go. Right then, back to it. Eddie Howe, questions on transfers today. Basically saying, didn't want to sell Kelly, didn't want to sell Almiron, had to because of PSR, and we still couldn't reinvest though. So, all eyes towards the summer now on that transfer window. That's for another video. But isn't this good timing that there's a leak, that there's someone at the club probably feeding off these journalists, Craig Hope last week, Luke Edwards this week, about the stadium plans, put the feelers out. And this is all because it'll show you what happens with PSR, why we have to build a new stadium, because you've seen it. Listen, transfer windows have gone by 3 transfer windows now without a signing for the first team because of PSR and FFP. You know how you get around PSR and FFP? You build massive stadiums and increase your revenue and sponsorships and commercial deals and all of that, just like Tottenham Hotspur did. So there you go. That's when the club have thought, well, we'll put this out and everyone will understand now. They've just seen a shit show January window. Nobody signed. But build them a new stadium. Everyone will be backing it now. Not everybody, but it will get more people on the side because it shows it's one of the ways to actually compete. Let us know what you think about the new stadium. You know what I mean? It's the good thing about this is obviously the scene is going to be adjacent to the current St James's Park, right behind it. As I said in last week's video, by the way, where the car park is, as I've said millions of times, to be fair. Not bringing my own self up. Well, I kind of am, aren't I? But it's true. So there you go. Choose wisely who you listen to on YouTube. Alright. Telegraph Sport are saying here that the Newcastle United board have now recommended a new stadium to the Saudi Arabian owners. They believe the best option is a brand new stadium in Leazes Park, costing a total of £1.2 billion, with a capacity of just under 70,000. Now, we've got to hit the 70,000 mark. Do you know what I mean? 69? But no, it's got to be, 70 at least. Although the club remain adamant that a final decision has not been made, so guesswork then. This will be up to the majority stakeholders, PIF, when they are presented with the two options of rebuilding St James's or moving to the new site. There is growing momentum behind the new stadium plan. I couldn't see why the new owners wouldn't want a new stadium. They've got no attachment to the current one. They're not going to upset that many people now. It's been a few years. People, like I said, know about PSR. They've changed. Remember we were at the Stack meeting there with Paul Mitchell and Darren Eales and Peter Silverstone and Brad Miller, who's in charge of this whole stadium plan, and they asked the audience, a few thousand in there, what do you want? And the majority leaned towards a new stadium. And you ask it now on social media. I'll put this out on our Instagram. There you go. I think a lot of people now, or at least 50-50, are leaning towards a new stadium. So it's not like it was when the takeover first happened. I think we're all kind of getting behind it now. And it is because we've seen we can't really progress. We can't bloody sign anyone. And hopefully when we do get a new stadium, that means we can, because everything increases. Revenue, helps with FFP, all that carry on. We've been through it a million times. The project is an exciting and hugely ambitious one, which will give Newcastle a new home that is the second largest club stadium in the country behind Old Trafford. And obviously Old Trafford, is meant to be getting an upgrade itself. Intriguingly, the new stadium will be constructed using an overlapping footprint, which means it will be built on some of the land St James's Park currently stands on. And this was an important one, and again this was said in that Stack event, where Brad Miller said they're not going to stretch the elastic band too far, was what he used there, his terms there, because they know how important it is to be in the city centre and the location that it is and how unique and brilliant it is. They were never going to think about, if they couldn't do Leazes Park, they couldn't do city centre, they were never going to move it to bloody Benton. You know what I mean? They were going to move it to Wallsend, middle of nowhere, countrysides, even, Gosforth or something. They want it to be in the centre, they want it to be around the pubs, around the community, around all the local businesses there, and for the Newcastle Council as well, because they would not be happy if you did move it out of there. This then also benefits the people that are behind Leazes Park, who don't want to move, don't want anything to happen to their prestigious park, even though it needs loads of work done. I mean, I love Leazes Park, I think it's lush, but it does need a lot of investment. It's lagging now, you know what I mean? It needs a bit of a boost itself, to be honest. But with this plan here, it does mean that only a small part of Leazes Park, the protected Victorian era green space, will be needed, which is hoped should be more palatable to the City Council as well as the local residents. You can still go pick your dog shit up around Leazes Park. One of the ideas mooted is to build a new green space close by to offset the loss of the parkland needed for the new stadium. Keep them all happy. With the club also developing a leisure, business and retail complex at Strawberry Place, where the Stack fan zone currently sits. So there's an interesting one as well. They're going to build a leisure, business and retail complex at Strawberry Place, which would make sense. Whack up a new Newcastle United themed hotel, similar to the Stack now, different fan zone where you can get people in for food, drink and everything. Pump that back into the revenue system as well, and what they've said there, retail complex, maybe a new mega store. However, Newcastle continue to explore a second proposal focused on the expansion of the Gallagher end, roughly half the cost of building an entirely new stadium. If you're going to spend half of the billion, let's say, on an expansion of the Gallagher stand and an extra 7,000-8,000 seats, you may as well just can out and get a new stadium. It has been widely assumed that the new stadium would be built on all of Leazes Park, which would have been difficult for the City Council to accept given it is part of a conservation area. Even though the majority of the park will not be impacted by the new stadium, it's still likely to face a complicated process before it is granted planning permission. But instead of concreting over that cherished green space, Newcastle's plan is similar to the one adopted by Tottenham Hotspur when they built their new stadium in North London, making use of the land where they already own the leasehold. The current Leazes End may even form part of the new stadium, which would mean it is the last part of the arena to be built, with the old stand knocked down as the new one is constructed around it. Sources describe the location as being like a diagonal shift away from the list of buildings that make the redevelopment of St James's so difficult. Because as I've said before, right, ideally you would just expand the East Stand and you'd be buzzing. All around there St James's, you get a nice load of new seats and you keep the historic stadium, but it's not possible, so we have to think of these new plans. In the article, the suggestion that it would only be a 5 to 10 minute walk away from the current Gallagher is where that new Leazes Park stadium would sit. The multi-storey car park at the corner of the Leazes End would be demolished, but the road behind the Milburn stand would not be affected. Understands that the new bowl-shaped stadium would be higher than St James's Park, making it an even more imposing feature of the city skyline. I like that, because what we love about St James's is when you come in on the train station at Central, when you're driving over most parts of the city, you can always see the stadium in the background from loads of different angles and viewpoints. Brilliant that if we're going to build an even bigger one, have that effect on the skyline, where it looks great from the outside and the inside. Also thought the proposal could allow Newcastle to continue playing at St James's Park while the new stadium is constructed and would not force the team to relocate their home games, although it remains to be seen how this will work in practice. A temporary relocation could still be needed, and it is not clear at this stage whether the capacity would be reduced while some of the work is carried out. This has obviously been a huge matter for a while now regarding a new stadium. If we were to knock the current one down, where would we play? That's been the thought. Everyone's been saying, could you play at Gateshead? People are saying, could you play in bloody Edinburgh? Could you build a pop-up stadium? Whatever. Well, these plans are saying you could still play at St James's Park while it's happening. Maybe a few thousand would lose out on the seats, obviously, in that corner. But that was kind of similar to when St James's Park was getting constructed to what it is now, isn't it? Back in the 90s, we had the crane up and they closed a bit of it. So yeah, it's one of them ones where they might have to do that for the short term, but to keep it in that location, it's a huge benefit long term. Remember, Newcastle is a host city for the Euros in 2028, which is another complicating factor apparently. The lack of suitable options for relocation have weighed heavily on the club during the feasibility study. Playing games at Sunderland Stadium of Light would not be possible because of safety fears. No shit, we touched on that in another video as well. That was never going to happen. Never ever. And the only realistic option would be to move games to Murrayfield in Edinburgh, 120 miles away. That'd be a fun train journey, like trains on the match day, straight to Edinburgh. Bit of a mission though, isn't it? The idea would be to finish the construction of a new stadium within 6 to 7 years, which could mean Newcastle move into it at the start of the 2031-32 season. That's quite a long time. I can't remember, I don't know, how long it took to build Tottenham's new stadium. Let us know in the chat. But yeah, that's a long way away, isn't it? So 6 to 7 years. So everything that's happening, the new training ground, the new stadium, not going to happen overnight. I'm really still alive to see it. Should be, surely, hopefully, fingers crossed. However, although the club believe they have found their preferred option, they still want to consult with supporters before making a final decision. And they will make a presentation to the Fans Advisory Board later this year. There's also a chance that PIF will reject the idea to move given the high costs. Yeah, because PIF really struggle to find money. Literally unlimited pots of cash, so I don't think they'll struggle to pluck out a 1.2 billion. They're willing to pay bloody boxers a few hundred million for half an hour scrap. So I think they'll be alright building a new stadium. But as I say, the second option to rebuild and redevelop St James's also remains on the table, which would cost 600 to 800 million. And as they said, it will get to about 60,000 seats, expansion of the Gallagher end, but most of the stadium would stay the same and there would be little improvement, if any, made to the likes of the East Stand. We heard last week, obviously, it's meant to be like a bubble wrap plan for the new Leazes Park Stadium, similar to the Allianz Arena in Bayern Munich, which is a lush stadium, to be fair. So that would be absolutely fine with me. I think that stadium looks quality. I do love that Allianz Arena. I've never been, but just seen it on TV and the images I would have overlaid here. It's a quality looking arena. Nice and close to the pitch. Big skyline design like we've talked about earlier, so I think that would fit us down to a T. Let us know your thoughts on that plan. There we go. There's another update on a potential new stadium for the Toon. As always, drop your feelings and thoughts in the comments below. Massive game tomorrow night, people. I know I'm going to have a sleepless night already. I kind of did last night, to be honest. I'm feeling groggy. I'm feeling tired because the nerves are already kicking in. But if you're not going to the game, how about you head down to Fleet Street to watch it? New Fleet Street on Pudding Chair there in the Toon, just off the big market, just across Central Station. Get yourselves in there. They have this cracking offer on for the Newcastle v Arsenal game. Drinks only £1 if Newcastle score. Get involved in that one, people. You can't get wrong with that. And that'll help set the nerves, won't it? Make a few of them off. Once we've scored, hopefully, if we take a 1-0 lead, then an even better reason to celebrate. Hopefully it's another 4-4, and that'll get us through. It'll be an entertaining game, and you get a few drinks for £1. Everyone's a winner. Well, no one's a winner, really, because it's a draw. But we will be winners, because we'll be going to Wembley. It's actually the anniversary of that 4-4 tomorrow, so imagine how strange that would be. But I tell you what, I don't care what the score is tomorrow, as long as we get through. We get beat 2-1, sound. We get beat 3-2, wicked. Draw 5-5, not arsed. Get me to Wembley. Get me a cup. But hopefully the lads turn up. The atmosphere should be rocking. 2-1 Newcastle? I'm switching. I said we'd get beat 2-1 yesterday. I'm saying 1-1. I can't make my mind up. I'm just desperate to get a trophy. So fingers crossed, people. Stay tuned to the channel for all your vlog, reaction, fan cams tomorrow night against Arsenal. Let us know how you're feeling for that one as well. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you on the next one.